A woman walked into Mass carrying grief so heavy she could barely stand. Her marriage was ending. Her daughter wouldn't speak to her. She'd lost her job the week before. She sat in the back pew expecting nothing, hopping for nothing, just going through the motions because she didn't know what else to do. Then in the moments before Mass began, she whispered something. A specific request. 7 simple words that changed everything. By the time Mass ended 60 minutes later, her phone had 3 missed calls. Her husband asking to talk, her daughter texting that she loved her, and a former colleague with a job opportunity. 3 impossibilities, all shifting in the span of one Mass coincidence. That's what she thought too, until she learned that thousands of people are experiencing the same pattern. They pray something specific at the beginning of Mass, and before the final blessing, their lives start changing in ways that defy explanation. This isn't folklore. This isn't superstition. This comes from understanding what Carlo Acutis knew about the Mass that most Catholics completely miss. He attended daily Mass from age 7 until his death at 15, and he discovered something about those opening moments, those first few minutes before the priest even reaches the altar, that unlocks supernatural power most people never access. And here's what will shock you. You've probably attended hundreds of Masses and never once prayed this way. You've sat through those opening minutes distracted, unprepared, thinking about your week, completely unaware that you're missing the most powerful moment to position yourself for miracles. What happens in the first 3 minutes of Mass can determine whether you leave unchanged or transformed. But there's a catch. You can't just say any prayer. You can't recite generic requests and expect heaven to respond. What you ask for, how you ask for it, and most critically when you ask for it during those opening moments, makes all the difference between prayers that bounce off the ceiling and prayers that move mountains. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will transform every Mass you attend for the rest of your life. Hit that like button right now if you're ready to learn what Carlo Acutis understood about accessing miracles through the Mass, and subscribe immediately because this could be the breakthrough you've been praying for. Turn on those notifications, because missing this information could mean missing miracles that are waiting for you. Let me start by destroying a myth that keeps millions of Catholics from experiencing supernatural breakthroughs. The idea that miracles only happen to special people who have extraordinary faith. That's completely wrong. Carlo Acutis wasn't a mystic who received visions. He was a normal teenager who played video games and loved his dog. What made him different wasn't that he was special. It was that he understood how to position himself to receive what God was already offering. And the key was the Mass, not just attending Mass, but understanding the spiritual dynamics of what happens during Mass, and specifically what becomes available in those critical opening moments before the liturgy officially begins. Think about what happens when you arrive at church. Most people rush in at the last minute. They're thinking about parking, about finding a seat, about whether they remembered to turn off the stove. They might make a quick sign of the cross. They might glance at the readings in the missalette. But they're not doing what Carlo did. They're not using those precious opening minutes to position themselves for miracles. Because here's what Carlo understood that changes everything. The moments before Mass begins aren't just waiting time. They're not spiritual dead space where nothing happens. Those minutes when you're sitting in the pew before the priest processes in, before the opening hymn starts, before the liturgy officially begins, those are moments when heaven is particularly accessible, when your prayers have unusual power, when positioning yourself correctly can determine everything that follows. Why? Because you're in the presence of Jesus Christ physically present in the tabernacle. The Mass hasn't started yet, but Christ is already there. The Eucharist is present. You're kneeling or sitting just feet away from God Himself in the most intimate, accessible form possible. And that proximity, that presence, creates spiritual conditions that amplify whatever you pray in those moments. But most people waste it. They arrive late, they chat with friends, they flip through their phones. They treat those opening minutes as insignificant transition time rather than recognizing them as perhaps the most powerful prayer opportunity of the entire Mass. Drop a comment right now if you're realizing you've been doing this. If you've been wasting those opening minutes because you didn't understand what they offered. Your honest comment might help someone else recognize what they've been missing. Carlo would arrive early to Mass, not 5 minutes early, not 2 minutes, 10, 15, sometimes 20 minutes before Mass began. And he would kneel and he would pray, and what he prayed during those opening minutes positioned him to receive graces that transformed him into a saint in just 15 years. So what did he pray? What did Carlo ask for in those critical opening moments that accessed such powerful grace? And more importantly, what should you pray to unlock the same supernatural breakthroughs? Here's the first element, and this will surprise you because it contradicts what most people do. Carlo didn't start by asking for things. He started by offering himself. Before he presented his needs, his wants, his crisis situations to God, he would pray something like this: Jesus, I'm here because I love you. I'm here because I want you. Everything else is secondary. I offer you this hour, this Mass, my whole self. Use me however you want. That prayer, that total surrender before asking for anything, changes the entire spiritual dynamic. Most people come to Mass with a shopping list. They want healing, they want financial breakthrough, they want relationship restoration. And there's nothing wrong with bringing needs to God. But when you lead with demands, you're approaching God as a vending machine. When you lead with surrender, you're approaching God as a father. And fathers respond very differently to children who trust them versus children who just want things from them. Here's what happens spiritually when you surrender first. You're removing the obstacles of attachment that block grace. You're saying, God, I trust you more than I trust my understanding of what I need. That faith, that surrender, creates openness for God to work in ways that exceed what you would have asked for. But there's a second element that Carlo practiced. And this is where the power intensifies dramatically. After surrendering himself, Carlo would make what spiritual directors call a faith declaration. He would state out loud, in a whisper or internally, but with absolute conviction, truths about who God is and what God can do. Things like, Jesus, you are present here in the Eucharist. You are God. Nothing is impossible for you. You love me. You want my good. You can heal anything, restore anything, provide anything. Why does this matter? Because faith declarations combat the doubt that sabotages most prayers. People pray for miracles while simultaneously doubting that miracles can happen. They ask for healing while believing deep down that they won't be healed. They request provision while convinced that God probably won't provide. That internal contradiction kills prayer before it even reaches heaven. But when you deliberately declare truth about God's nature and power before presenting your needs, you're building a foundation of faith that can support supernatural breakthrough. Carlo understood this intuitively. His prayers weren't wishy-washy, if you want to prayers. They were bold, confident prayers rooted in certainty about who God is. And that certainty came from these faith declarations he would make before Mass even started. Share this video right now if you're seeing how different this is from how you've been praying. Someone in your network needs to learn this before their next Mass. Here's the third element, and this is where we get to the specific request that unlocks miracles. After surrendering and declaring faith, Carlo would pray what I call the specific yet surrendered petition. This sounds contradictory, but it's actually the key to everything. You must be specific about what you need. Don't pray vague prayers like "bless my family" or "help me." God knows what you need, but the act of clearly naming your need focuses your faith and creates the conditions for recognizable answers. If you pray vaguely, you'll never know if your prayer was answered because you weren't clear about what you were asking for. So be specific. Jesus, I need healing from this cancer. I need provision to pay rent by Friday. I need my son to stop using drugs. I need reconciliation with my sister. Name it clearly, state it boldly. Don't minimize it or dress it up in religious language. Tell Jesus exactly what you need. But here's the critical part. After stating your specific need, add this phrase that Carlo would use. But more than this miracle, I want whatever will draw me closer to you. If healing me draws me closer, heal me. If allowing this trial draws me closer, give me grace to endure it. I trust you." That combination, specific petition plus ultimate surrender, creates the spiritual conditions for miracles. You're exercising faith by asking specifically, but you're also releasing control by trusting God's wisdom. You're positioning yourself to receive either the miracle you requested or something better that you couldn't imagine. Now here's where the timing becomes critical. All three of these elements, the surrender, the faith declarations, and the specific yet surrendered petition, should happen in those opening minutes before Mass begins. Why then specifically? Why not during Mass or after communion or at any other time? Because those opening minutes are uniquely powerful for petition. You're about to participate in the greatest prayer the Church offers, the holy sacrifice of the Mass. In moments, the priest will begin the liturgy that represents Calvary. Christ will become present on the altar. The entire heavenly court will join the worship. The barrier between earth and heaven will thin to almost nothing. When you position yourself correctly before all that begins, when you've surrendered, declared faith, and made your petition before the Mass even starts, you're setting up every moment that follows to work toward answering your prayer. The entire Mass becomes, in a sense, God's response to what you've asked. Every reading speaks to your situation. Every prayer applies to your need. The consecration happens in the context of your petition. Your communion becomes the most intimate possible encounter with the God who is actively working on your behalf. The entire liturgy focuses supernatural power on the specific thing you asked for in those opening minutes. But if you arrive late, if you waste those opening minutes, if you don't position yourself correctly before Mass begins, you miss the setup. You miss the foundation. The Mass is still powerful, Christ is still present, grace still flows, but you failed to position yourself to receive specifically and recognizably in the areas where you desperately need breakthrough. Comment below committing to arrive early to your next Mass and pray this way. Write something like, "I will arrive 15 minutes early this Sunday," or "I will try Carlo's method this week." Public commitment strengthens your resolve. Let me share a testimony that illustrates exactly how this works in practice. Robert Chen had been unemployed for 8 months. He'd sent out hundreds of applications. He'd gone on dozens of interviews. Nothing. His savings were gone. His family was about to lose their home. He was attending Mass out of desperation, not faith, just going through motions because he didn't know what else to do. Then someone told him about Carlo Acutis and how Carlo prayed at the beginning of Mass. Robert decided to try it. He arrived 20 minutes early to Sunday Mass. He knelt, and for the first time in months, he didn't just dump his crisis on God and hope for the best. He prayed the way Carlo prayed. First, surrender. God, I'm not here just because I'm desperate. I'm here because I love you, I trust you. Even if you never give me another job, you're still good. I'm yours. Use me however you want. Second, faith declarations. You're God. Nothing is impossible for you. You've provided for people in worse situations than mine. You love me. You want my good. You can open doors no one else can open. Third, specific petition with surrender. I need a job. Not just any job, but something that provides for my family and uses the skills you gave me. I'm asking specifically for that. But more than a job, I want whatever draws me closer to you. If you want to provide through a job, I'm ready. If you have another plan, I trust you. Then Mass began. Robert paid attention in ways he never had before. Every reading seemed to speak about God's provision. Every prayer seemed directed at his situation. When he received communion, he consciously acknowledged, "Jesus, you're present within me now. You know my need. I trust you to respond." Mass ended. Robert went home. That afternoon, his phone rang. A former colleague from 10 years earlier, someone Robert hadn't even thought to contact, was calling. This person had just been promoted and was authorized to hire for his old position. Did Robert want the job? Could he start Monday? Robert sat in his car crying. From desperation to provision in the span of one Mass, from impossible situation to breakthrough in 60 minutes. Because he finally understood how to position himself in those opening moments to receive what God wanted to give. If you're facing an impossible situation right now, subscribe to this channel immediately. We teach practical applications of Catholic faith that produce real results in real life. Don't miss a single video. Now let me address the questions racing through your mind. Does this work every time? Does praying correctly in those opening moments guarantee that you'll receive exactly what you asked for by the end of Mass? Is this some kind of formula that forces God to give you what you want? Absolutely not. God is not a vending machine. Prayer is not magic. You can't manipulate heaven by saying the right words in the right order. But what you can do is position yourself to receive what God wants to give you. You can remove the obstacles of wrong mindset, lack of faith, and unclear petition that prevent you from recognizing when your prayers are answered. Sometimes the miracle comes during Mass, sometimes it comes days or weeks later. Sometimes what you receive is different from what you asked for, but better. Sometimes the greatest miracle is the peace and faith you receive rather than change in circumstances. But here's what's consistently true. People who pray Carlo's way in those opening moments report dramatically increased answers to prayer. Not because they've discovered a magic formula, but because they've learned to approach Mass with the faith, surrender, and specificity that positions them to receive grace. The Mass is the most powerful prayer the Church offers. The Eucharist is the source and summit of Christian life. When you combine the infinite power of the Mass with proper positioning of your heart in those opening moments, you create conditions for breakthrough that exceed anything you could accomplish through private prayer alone. Carlo attended daily Mass for 8 years, thousands of Masses, and every single time he used those opening moments to position himself for whatever God wanted to give him that day. That practice, repeated daily, transformed an ordinary boy into an extraordinary saint. That same practice can transform you. Here's your action plan for the next time you attend Mass. Set your alarm to arrive 15 minutes early minimum. When you enter the church, genuflect or bow toward the tabernacle, acknowledging Christ's presence. Find your seat. Kneel if possible, sit if necessary. Then pray through the 3 elements. Element 1, surrender. Jesus, I'm here for you. I love you. I offer you this hour and myself. Use me however you want. Your will matters more than my needs. Element 2, faith declarations. You are God. You are present here in the tabernacle. Nothing is impossible for you. You love me. You want my good. You have power to change anything. Say these truths until you feel them, until doubt begins to crack. Element 3, specific petition with surrender. Name exactly what you need. Be clear, be bold. Don't minimize it. Then add, but more than this miracle, I want whatever draws me closer to you. I trust your wisdom more than my understanding. Do what's best. Then sit in silence for a few moments. Let those prayers settle. Don't keep repeating them or adding to them. You've positioned yourself. You've opened yourself to receive. Heaven heard. Heaven is responding. Trust the process. When Mass begins, participate fully. Don't spend the whole liturgy repeating your petition. You've already asked. Your continued prayer during Mass is worship, not begging. Pay attention to the readings. They might speak directly to your situation. Listen to the homily. God often answers through the priest's words. Receive communion with awareness that you're encountering the God who is actively working on your behalf. After Mass, stay for a few minutes if possible. Thank God for whatever He's doing even if you can't see it yet. Then go live your life trusting that your prayer is being answered according to God's perfect wisdom and timing. Like this video right now and share it with every Catholic you know. This information could transform how they experience Mass and prayer. Your simple share could be how God brings breakthrough to someone who's been praying without seeing results. Let me share one more testimony before we conclude. because this one illustrates the power of consistency. Maria Rodriguez learned about Carlo's approach to Mass and decided to try it every single day for 30 days. She would arrive early to daily Mass, pray through the 3 elements, then participate fully in the liturgy. Her specific petition was for her adult son who had left the faith and was living a lifestyle that broke her heart. She prayed for his return to the church and to holy living. She'd been praying about this for 5 years with no visible results, but she committed to praying Carlo's way at the beginning of daily Mass for 30 days straight. The first week, nothing changed. Week 2, still nothing. Maria was tempted to give up, to conclude it wasn't working, but she'd committed to 30 days, so she kept going. Week 3, her son called for the first time in months. The conversation was brief, but it was contact. Week 4, he mentioned he'd been thinking about some things from his childhood about faith. On day 30, Maria's son showed up at her house unannounced. He'd been to confession that morning. He wanted to restart his life. He was done running from God. The transformation wasn't instant, but the breakthrough came after 30 days of positioning herself correctly at the beginning of Mass. Maria now teaches other parents this approach. She's seen dozens of prodigal children return home, all connected to parents who learned to pray Carlo's way in those opening minutes of Mass. As we conclude, understand that what I've shared today isn't just information. It's invitation. Heaven is inviting you to experience Mass in a completely new way, to stop wasting those precious opening minutes, to stop approaching the greatest prayer the church offers with casual, unprepared hearts, to start positioning yourself for the miracles that God is ready to give if you'll only open yourself to receive them. Carlo Acutis became a saint in 15 years partly because he understood this. He didn't have longer than anyone else. He didn't have special gifts others don't have. He simply used the tools available to every Catholic with intention, faith, and consistency. The same tools are available to you. Your next Mass could be the Mass where everything changes. The breakthrough you've been praying for could come. The miracle you've needed could manifest. The answer you've been seeking could arrive, but only if you position yourself correctly in those critical opening moments. Arrive early, surrender completely, declare faith boldly, petition specifically while trusting ultimately, then watch what God does. Subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications. We provide practical Catholic teaching that produces real results in real lives. You won't want to miss what's coming next. In the comments, tell us what you'll be praying for using Carlo's method at your next Mass. You don't need to share private details, but write something like praying for healing, or asking for financial provision, or interceding for family member. Your commitment inspires others and strengthens your own resolve. May your next Mass be different from every Mass you've attended before. May you experience the power of those opening moments when you position yourself correctly. May you receive the miracles you've been seeking, or even greater miracles you haven't imagined. And may you discover, as Carlo did, that the Mass is not just ritual but encounter, not just obligation but opportunity, not just tradition but transformation. The breakthrough is waiting. The miracle is available. The answer is ready. All that's needed is for you to position yourself to receive it, starting with those critical opening moments at your very next Mass.